So what's going on, guys? My name is Mr. Dalek JD, and today I have a really cool video for you guys as we have some new info straight from TREYARCH themselves talking about the development of Call of Duty Zombies. Now, I made a video yesterday about how we're getting some form of mini reveal for Black Ops 4 Zombies at E3. If you want to know the details, then click the little eye you're seeing on the top of your screen now. That will open a new tab for you to watch, or click the link down below whenever you're ready. But in this video, we're going to be talking about some really cool info that TREYARCH have just unveiled to us through an interview with the website Polygon. And at the end of the video, I'm going to bring you guys a exclusive, something which we've never seen before from the secret vaults in TREYARCH HQ of something behind the scenes involving Black Ops 3 and a certain cutscene and the way it was produced. And it's absolutely insane to see what that looks like in such a basic form. So don't click through the video. Trust me, it's going to be worth the wait. And there's a lot of juicy info to talk about. But if you guys are excited for Black Ops 4 Zombies, then let me know down below in the comment section. And also, before you click off this video, make sure you've dropped a cheeky thumbs up on the video as well. Only takes a second, and I'd really appreciate it. But jumping into the news at hand, and I gotta give big credit to Polygon as it's their cover story of the month, where they say before the reveal of Black Ops 4, TREYARCH looks back at its work on Call of Duty, and they do specify about zombies as well. So to break it down, in March, Polygon received an invitation to visit TREYARCH. The invite was fairly straightforward: come to Santa Monica for a full day, talk with one of the teams working on Call of Duty, one of the world's biggest video game franchises, and tell their story. But TREYARCH's story is more than just the story of Black Ops, it's also the story of the Zombies game mode, a whole other sub-franchise that TREYARCH helped introduce to the world, one that's now a staple of every modern Call of Duty release. So the day began with a walking tour of the studio, and the guide was TREYARCH's chairman Mark Lamia himself. Aside from a Southern California's year-round tan, Lamia could easily be the sitcom stand-in for your average Midwestern American dad. Just look at him, he looks so happy to be there, and I'm so happy that after all these years, Mark Lamia is still one of the main faces at TREYARCH. I won't bore you with too many of the details, not that they're boring in any way, but you guys are here for the zombies portion. But I've linked the article down below, so you guys can go ahead and read it. So you can hear all about the development of the original Black Ops and how it came to be. But of course, we're going to talk about zombies. And they say, oddly enough, it could be said that TREYARCH's biggest achievement hasn't been the single-player story that it's feathered together over the years. Rather, it's the studio's bizarre foray back into the occult, something it hadn't dabbed in since Grey Matter's visit to Castle Wolfenstein. And we obviously know what came to be when it came to zombies inside of Call of Duty World at War. We've heard the story mentioned many times, but there are new details which Dan Bunting, who is now the co-studio head of TREYARCH, mentions in this interview, which is really exciting. They mention about how they had a really ambitious idea after they spent months ripping apart the game to fully support a multiplayer cooperative mode, that it was a learning process, and it wasn't until the early part of the second year in development where the most fun you can have is just defending an objective with each other. He can remember that this was a very rough test map. An engineer built it, so it wasn't even a designer who designed it, and it was a very skunkworks type of project. Only a few people were working on it. Now here's the new details that we didn't know before. So team set about uncovering a scenario where two players could stand practically back to back, wailing away on the enemy AI. The result was a rough and dirty test map inside a bunker where wave after wave of enemies would spawn in, with each one becoming more powerful than the last. But the new cooperative mode was missing a theme, something to differentiate it and give it character. Now of course we know this inevitably led to the Fantastic Four, which are Richtofen, Takeo Dempsey and Nikolai. But of course World at War, its original zombies map, didn't include those characters. We didn't get that till DLC 2. So late in the development of World at War, TREYARCH invited a bunch of actors into its motion capture studio to record a scene set on the Pacific island of Peleliu in 1944. The US Marine Corps and the US Army worked together to liberate the tiny coral island from the Japanese Imperial Army. The death toll on both sides was absurd. In TREYARCH's interpretation of that battle climax, US air assets mercilessly bombarded Japanese soldiers. Players bore witness to the aftermath, with dozens of enemy soldiers emerging from their fortifications dazed, shambling drunkenly from the concussive shock of the bombs. Watching them, we thought, these look like zombies, Bunting said. And so for that motion capture session's final few takes, that was the direction given to the actors: pretend that you are zombies. The result was magic. This was late in development. That same engineer came in one weekend and he just just prototyped, and in that hastily made second draft of the bunker map, players were given the opportunity to purchase weapons hung on the wall with points they'd earned. They were encouraged to board up the windows to create choke points, and the waves of enemies eventually turned into zombies using the motion captured performances and undead skins fashioned by TREYARCH artists. In that way, TREYARCH created its signature zombies mode from shell-shocked Japanese troops. Pretty insane. Now, at the time, a lot of fans criticized the zombies mode for how far the subject matter strayed from what the series had established, but a large portion fell in love with it. And since that time, it's those fans, like me and you, who've helped Call of Duty Zombies become what it is today. TREYARCH's ambitious new game mode was so successful that it crossed over, becoming a major part of every modern Call of Duty, even those produced by other studios. The hook, oddly enough, was in the audio. Originally, it was a gameplay mode that was fun and everyone really enjoyed it, said Craig Houston, who's been the lead writer on TREYARCH Zombies mode since the beginning. This guy's written all of the quotes for all the characters that we know and love, and we owe a lot to this guy. He's such a nice guy. He says that we're very deep in the campaign of World at War, which was pretty heavy and pretty harrowing. Zombies was a bit of a fun distraction, both as a gameplay type and also it just felt like something fresh. When it really started going was in the audio department, who right from that very first map were building in creepy, atmospheric things that people started to pick up on and go, why is that weird radio sound there? Who could possibly be on the other end of that radio? What does it mean? And that is really where your guys ran with things in the very early days. Now, as we know, the time-hopping storyline spans the Prohibition era and both world wars into the modern day and beyond. One level features a fantastical version of war-torn Stalingrad with giant robots and fire-breathing dragons. Characters range from B-movie tropes to Fidel Castro, Richard Nixon, and George Romero. And to even attempt to explain the plot line, of course, rather than a linear synopsis, the studio gave us a poster via the Zombies timeline, which was an incomplete timeline that loops back on itself, breaking the barrier between multiple realities in the process. It's a really good point. He goes, the fundamental thing about Zombies is it's a different experience every time you play it. It's largely non-linear, which goes for the dialogue as well, meaning when you write a bunch of lines for characters, they're based on triggers. If you get a headshot from 20 feet away, your character will say one of his headshots lines. You build and build and build this stuff in the game, and it means it can always come up in a different order, which is narratively quite challenging, so we build that in as well. There's this element 115 that exists in the universe, and it messes with people's memories, so they get confused, which allows you to have characters be characters, but not forcing them to have a kind of chronological experience through the map. Once they're into it for 5 minutes, the characters themselves have almost forgotten why they're there. They're just going with their base instinct. That's pretty much all that was mentioned about Zombies, but there was a lengthy thing about multiplayer, which I think is very, very interesting and definitely worth a read, as it's a lot of stuff which Vonderhaar has mentioned. And I remember when I watched the presentation for Black Ops 3 3 years ago, he was incredibly passionate about multiplayer, explaining every intricate thing and why it was there. And the guy says at the end of the day, he didn't expect his day to end with a philosophy lecture by Vonderhaar, but he was adamant about the team's process. And Vonderhaar says you have to ask, what experience are we trying to create? How do you measure if they've created it? And what are the things that are necessary to do that again? And when all of those come together, that's when they make the best designs, because it takes everybody at the team being on the same page to make the best game. Now, if you didn't realize already, there was absolutely nothing mentioned about Black Ops 4 during this reporter's trip to TREYARCH. Virtually everything else about the game was privileged information, apart from a few people knowing the name of the game back in February when the leaks started happening, and nothing was shared with him during his visit. It was even sequestered on the first floor of TREYARCH's office building the entire time, and it was clear that even those few offices and common areas had been sanitized before he's allowed to come in, and there was even a massive landscape style poster which was covered over with a garbage bag. So he knows absolutely nothing about the game, and no one really knows anything until we go to the reveal and see it on May 17th, which is going to be extremely exciting. But now, I did say at the start of the video, there was going to be a world exclusive that we have never seen before, and thanks to Polygon and their visit to TREYARCH, you can now see for the first time the behind the scenes of the giant intro cutscene created within the motion capture studio. This is so cool to see what this looked like behind the scenes, and to get to see a early version of the giant, like all the way back in 2015, maybe even as early as 2014, as in the first initial shots of the map, you're seeing areas of the map which look completely different to the finished product. We see a completely different weapon on the wall. You can see the point system on the right, which looks very reminiscent of Black Ops 1 zombies more so than anything like Black Ops 2 related. And this is seeing like Black Ops 3 zombies in a early version, like pre-alpha, maybe even pre-alpha. Everything is very early, and even the zombie models themselves are from Origins. The characters models are from Origins as well, and it's just very cool to see this in action. So I'm going to leave you guys to enjoy this. Let me know what you think of all of this down below in the comment section. I'm sure as we lead up to the reveal of Black Ops 4, there's going to be more interviews and more pieces like this, but this was very zombies focused in this article, which is very exciting stuff, and hopefully we get to hear more stuff like this in the near future. But I'm going to leave you to enjoy this behind the scenes motion cap. If you enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up and enjoy.
Goodbye, Dr. Maxis.
This ain't funny, Doc.
Turn around. Slowly.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, we know. That's why you'd better do exactly what we say.
A great evil approaches. There is a chain of events that must be set in motion.
The future hangs by a thread. You must awaken the test subjects.
Richtofen, whatever you're thinking of doing, don't do it!
You do not want to meet what's on the other side of that door.
You cannot begin to comprehend the great evil you could unleash.
Damn it, Richtofen, I thought we were done with this!
What can I say, Dempsey? Things change.
Only a fool would dare to change history.
I am no fool. What I do only to secure a better tomorrow.
Yeah? Well, let's see if we live to see it.